And friends from ABC News, and we'll have more on the busy period right now. I don't know if you heard the story. Speaking of travel, the shortage of TSA agents who kind of keep the planes in order in terms of air traffic. But hey, let's start the week here. Good morning, New Hampshire, across our network of news talk stations. The Pulse of NH. Hope you had a good weekend. WTPL 107.7 FM, Seacoast of New Hampshire, right up into Portland, Maine. WTSN 1270 AM 98.1 FM, WEMJ. Laconia, AM and FM, Wolfboro, Ospey, Conway, WASR, and of course the Pulse of an J-Dog. Before we get to some of the political stuff and some of the news, we have a packed Monday for you. Big upset. Well, not upsets, but maybe upsets, but big football games late yesterday, and we won't even talk about the anemic Patriots. What a score, huh? 6-0. Can't even get a touchdown or a field goal at home against, the Chargers. But certainly the Packers are real last night. You have to say they're real, beating the Chiefs, and the Niners ended up. That was not a small win over the Eagles. They actually ran the house at the end. Christian McCaffrey, an incredible game, but certainly the Niners are for real, and the Packers. Mm-hmm. Niners. Yeah, I mean, Eagles. They can rebound. They have a great record. They just have 2 losses, but I won't even get it. I mean, the Patriots just really no score. Not even a. I know. It's just they're going to have to stop these post-game press conferences because it's getting too painful to watch. I guess Belichick just walked off yesterday. Just same questions about the quarterback. But anyway, Bruins getting it done, huh? I know. And a nifty one the other night, and right before a few seconds left in that overtime against the Maple Leafs. Yeah, him and Pasta. All right, Paul Steinhaus reports nationally for Fox News GMI Studios for us. Paul, on a Monday morning, getting things going. A lot of things are fluid. Things feel very fluid on the presidential primary front in terms of the both sides and dynamics. But we'll see what happens. Good morning, Paul. Mm-hmm. And I was, but I think it was Friday night, the Democrat State Party, Democrats, Gene Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, Custer, Pappas, they had their big Eleanor Roosevelt dinner, I guess, is it? And I guess there's a big push despite Phillips and Biden and the DNC, messing over New Hampshire, a big push for the Biden write-in, I understand. Yeah, forget New Hampshire's primary, I guess. But all right, thank you, Paul. Paul Steinhauser, Fox News National GMI Studios. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. I think the schedule is going to be tough to see anything this week. I may be wrong. It felt like this would be the week, maybe tomorrow, because I noticed in the past, historically, Governor Chris Sununu favors Tuesdays to make kind of news on any announcements. Just in the past, it seems that that's been a popular day versus Monday or Friday. Makes sense. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think Nikki Haley was here last week. If he was going to be endorsing Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor, you would have thought that it might be this week. I just not getting the feeling it will be right now. Still doesn't mean it couldn't be, but it might be tough timing with the next Republican debate. By the way, I don't know all the details, but I was talking to Dr. Vic, one of our regular contributors, before the show this morning. Apparently, AFP, Americans for Prosperity, endorsing Haley. I guess their sort of grassroots director is out and was coming out basically very critical of that endorsement. It's an insider baseball game story. It's an inside story, but I don't know what's going on there. But maybe we'll have some of our experts this morning weighing in on that. I do find it interesting, though, that you have Congressman Phillips from Minnesota campaigning in New Hampshire as a Democrat running for president, respecting our primary. And the Democrats have their big gala or the big dinner on Friday night. And, you know, the whole basically, I mean, it was not a small story, by the way. It was not a small political consequence story when the National Democrats, DNC, Democrat National Committee, and the incumbent president, Joe Biden, basically manipulated their early schedule to bypass and ignore New Hampshire's primary, not even take part in it. That's why they're talking about a write-in campaign for Joe Biden because he's not campaigning here. So you have a member of Congress from Minnesota, Phillips, challenging Joe Biden, doing it the old-fashioned New Hampshire way, and Democrat powers to be just ignoring it. You know, I get it to a small point. Biden's the incumbent president, but what about standing up for the home team? What about standing up for your primary, New Hampshire first, the nation presidential primary? You know, if you're going to talk about elections and improving access to elections, same day voting, earlier voting, making elections and the whole election process a big part of the game, obviously the most important part. But when it comes to nominating your own president, you know, to kind of manipulate the schedule and ignore the early having to take part in these states, the retail politics for president, I think it's a tad hypocritical. But we'll see where it all goes. Republicans, of course, here showing up in force, and there's not much time left because we're just we're coming up to what's today? We're 4 days into December. Good Monday morning. A few weeks, people are going to be looking at Christmas, New Year's that week, where we kind of lose between the bookends of Christmas, which I guess is Christmas Eve is Sunday, Christmas Monday. So a lot of people off going into that weekend, coming out of that weekend, and then you have that short weekend, New Year's the following weekend, and people. So you don't have many weeks. Yeah, 50 days. 50 is it 50 days, J-Doc, from today? Right now, today? 50. Thank you. Thank you for that. 50 days. And, you know, on one hand, it sounds like a long time, but from a political point of view, it really isn't. Still talk out there on inflation and what's happening with the economy. A lot of people trying to figure it out. But, you know, this past weekend, there were just a lot of like fairs, parades. Portsmouth had their I don't know, they call it a holiday, but Christmas holiday parade. They lit the tree downtown, which is great. By the way, it's a Christmas tree. All these trees that are lit up are Christmas trees. They're Christmas trees. They were Christmas trees. They'll always be Christmas trees. But Exeter had one. Hampton, I heard, had one. A lot of fun stuff happening. A lot of plays and shows going on. It's that time of year as we get into December here. Hard to believe. Coming up this morning, we're going to hear from some of our regular contributors. We have a pack show for you. So as we get going on this Monday, we also like to end the show with some good news. Tom Raffio, president and CEO of Northeast Delta, he always likes to wrap up. We like him to wrap up our weekend of good activities. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age, powered by GMI Asphalt and Paving. Just call Christine at the company or text PAVE, PAVE, to 78,000 now. Jack Heath, J-Doc on the boards on a Monday morning. By the way, I didn't mention this. Snow line, and there's just a little bit of snow, but the snow line was really Concord North, so the Lakes region, North Country, kind of a wintry mix coming out of yesterday, that system, and last night, and coming into today. Now, things do, from a precipitation point of view, taper off today, so that's not going to be an issue. But this morning, early morning hours, a couple hours ago, depending on where you were, might have been a little slippery out there. Seacoast, pretty much all rain. Then the rest of the week, J-Dog, right through Friday, looks pretty nice, actually. Pretty calm, and no big system on deck or on tap that we see, and milder temperatures during the day. Oh, cool. You helping out again? We'll hear from Tanya this week. By the way, we didn't touch upon it, but Saturday, big. Can you believe what was your reaction to Alabama over Georgia? I was surprised. Was it Washington and because Iowa got shellacked by Michigan? Yeah, yeah. Texas, is it Texas? Yeah, they had a big win too. All right, hey Alexa, hey Google, play the Pulse of Nate. Jack Heath, J Dog on the boards. Back in a moment. All right, welcome back on this Monday morning. A lot going on. A lot going on coming out of a busy weekend, I guess. Although I do think the weekends, especially this time of year, people just literally need to check out. There's so much stuff. I mean, overall, the news is still it's still let's just say it takes some exercise, it takes some energy to get through it all. You know, it's interesting. I said this the other day on this with the situation between Israel and Hamas, and I mean, why am I surprised, right? I'm still kind of amazed at the mindset of so many people. As it pertains to what's going on in Gaza, in the Middle East. I can't believe how many allegedly well-educated, smart individuals just overlooked the fact that there was a perfectly good ceasefire in Gaza on or before October 7th on Saturday, when Hamas terrorists went in and killed and butchered and slaughtered so many Israeli women and children and sexually, and it just every, as the Biden administration correctly said at the time, pure unadulterated evil, babies beheaded, and people just sort of forget this, that are, they're just so, one of the members of, I don't even like to dignify this thing that they call the squad. One of the representatives was saying that, we have to balance our criticism of Israel and Hamas. No, we don't. No, you don't. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they govern about 2 million people, Palestinians in Gaza, mostly Palestinians. I'm not saying that they're not innocent women and children and Palestinians that have been hurt or killed or harmed by this war, but Hamas is a terrorist organization. You don't balance criticism of a terrorist organization in the state of Israel, but these same people, Americans, are calling Israel, a terrorist state. It's unbelievable. It's remarkable. It's unbelievable. And, there are some got to give some of even the CNN host credit when they asked one of the so-called, I don't know why they call these progressive Democrats progressives. I'd call them regressives, like the squad. Asked them, why is it you don't hear about, Israeli soldiers raping and sexually torturing victims, and it's only Hamas terrorists who sexually assault young Israeli girls? Why is that? No, you can't ask any logical question like that, because they're not. That's not what the so-called progressive Democrats are thinking. They overlook those little minor details. They will overlook those minor details. So this is continuing. It's taken its toll on everyone. I hear you. I don't know if you heard about some of the hostages, the children who were released. You should hear this, because you won't hear this from some of our networks. They told their parents, the Jewish kids, that their Hamas terrorist captors would use really hot exhaust pipes from like motorcycles to brand them like cattle on their skin so they could number them. That remind you of anything? World War II? That remind you of anything if you know your history? Just so they wouldn't lose track of them. They'd use a hot exhaust muffler, drug them, sexual assaults. I mean, I don't really understand it. I don't, it started on, it's pretty prevalent in college campuses, even here at home, regrettably, but it's just what it is. The amazing thing, though, with the focus on Israel and Hamas, the American public and members of Congress and just about all of us can't, I said this the other day. I asked someone, can you even give a good military strategic update on the war in Ukraine between Zelensky and Putin? The Russian forces, can you tell me where they are in Ukraine? Can you tell me the latest? All you hear is that on the funding measures, I guess Senator Schumer's going to introduce before the end of the year some funding measures for Ukraine to continue to support the Ukraine military effort to defend themselves, and Zelensky that they're running out of our military is running out of means to do that. I mean, there's 2 wars in the world, and I don't know if you heard about that. Some of the commercial vessels and the drone attacks happening over the weekend. So a lot of stuff happening that's big news on the weekends. But I know most of us just check out, tune it off, turn it off. I can't say I blame you at times, but there's certainly plenty of stuff happening out there. And this is a time of year where some people just want to get out of the end of the year, and get into the next year. But there'll be quite a checkout period. And I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to figure out the economy. I mean, to go out, don't tell me, and please do not tell me inflation's coming down. Don't tell me inflation's coming down. I don't buy that a minute. You go out and get a couple appetizers and a few adult beverages at most restaurants, and with a tip, you're looking at $1.30. That's not dinner, by the way. That's not dinner. Try and get out of a restaurant under $100 or a grocery store under $100. Tell me how far that gets you. And, we're dealing with rising energy costs as we get into the colder months, and The only reprieve we've seen, as I've said in the last few weeks, has been at the gas pump. Regular gas about closer to $3 a gallon right now. That's it. Everything else is expensive. Anyone who comes to your home, any service that you retain, anything you buy, any appliance, any groceries, everything is very high. And at some point, I don't know where it doesn't take a bigger toll. I am starting to hear, though, I don't know about you, I'm starting to hear of some of the ancillary businesses to kind of the home remodeling sector, which is such a big part of our economy. Some of the big bellwethers are go to your weekend, home design, kitchen, bath, home decorating business, and ask that proprietor, the owner, the manager, hey, are you seeing a slowdown? And I'm hearing things are really slowing down. Now, it could be time of year. We're ending the year. But I'm hearing anyone in like the home furnishing, home goods. I'm not sure about the Home Depots or the Lowe's of the world, but anyone on the, getting a new sofa, getting new furniture, kitchen, bath, all that stuff is really slow, grinding to a halt. The only real estate activity I see are people that are not borrowing money, people with money that go in to buy a place. But the price points are very high because the inventory is so low. But I'm hearing that home supply, home furnishing, home decorating sector is really slowing down. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that big Democrat dinner they had on Friday night in New Hampshire, the write-in effort for Joe Biden. A lot of moving parts here. A little bit later on, Doug Tengden will get a check on the economy, and because I don't feel at all that inflation's coming down or the price of anything. A little bit later on, Aaron Real, NBC News Radio national correspondent, should be talking on some of the economy and stuff, and Rory O'Neill on a whole full Monday for you. Some good news at the end with Tom Raffio. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa. I believe our streaming might be, I'm hearing from a lot of people that our streaming may be off a little bit or not. We're getting it back on. We're aware of that. So thank you. On the network of news talk stations, Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Back in a moment. All right, amazing number of people that listen streaming. Wow. We hear about it. It's just from all over the place. In Washington, our friends at Darby Field Advisors, people in the Midwest, people in the Pennsylvania area, Connecticut, New York, one couple out of country. So we're getting it back. Yeah, that was a few weeks ago. Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal, is going to check in a few moments. We do have some other updates. I think what happens is people just need to catch up sometimes on the news. We lose track of everything. Everything is so fast, overwhelming. It's amazing. I don't know about you. I don't. News talk is a great way to get caught up and hear what's going on. You can hear a lot of different points of view and hear more than a 10-second soundbite. TV news. I'm just looking at the numbers of national television news and how it's just dropping off a cliff. People were asking me going into the weekend, what my prep is and my show, and I read a lot. I just read a lot of different things. I read more than I watch any television news these days. It seems so much of the television news is unfortunately in silos. It's either one political perspective or point of view versus another. And that's sort of what happens. I mean, it's not just media, it's college campuses. I mean, how many professors do we have at lofty universities that have a political agenda or political activists versus educators? I mean, it's unbelievable. I did catch a story out of Florida I had to chuckle at. DeSantis down there, I think he's in New Hampshire today, the Florida governor, presidential candidate, been on the show a lot, of course, and he will be. And, he's sort of in Florida taking on some of what they call the woke, kind of the woke stuff in universities and colleges there, made some bold changes. And I had to chuckle the number of Democrat professors who are so appalled and outraged that they're leaving the state. And I guarantee, I can tell you what state they're going to. I guarantee they're going to New York. That's a good thing because New York, who wants to be there and live there? So I guess New York could use some more influx versus the outpour. But I had to chuckle at that. Some commentary. Michael Graham, nhjournal.com, covering a lot of stories this morning. J-Dog, I don't know if you got that clip from Michael. He wanted you to play it. I don't know the context. I think it's from the movie Pulp Fiction, wasn't it? But I don't know if you have that. Do you want to play it? Go ahead. Oh, no, you know what, Michael? We're streaming our StreamYard YouTube, so I guess he can't right now. But take it away, Michael. Good morning. It was a classic movie, yeah. We talked about it. I haven't. I've read some news about it over the weekend. Some of it was rather predictable, but go ahead. Well, but don't sometimes the ends justify the means? They feel that if we have Lucas Meyer regular when I've pressed him on this, they feel it's more important to make sure their incumbent Democrat president is reelected. You the See, you're hitting Michael Graham and you're hitting the nails on the head from this, but I think there's a different ultimate. I think it's hypocrisy or hypocritical, and I mean this from a very objective point of view. The DNC reasons for taking away our primary, you and I know, is a bunch of BS. And President Biden didn't do well here, and I get that. He left, by the way, the last election in 20 before the votes were even counted to go to South Carolina to have the party bosses save his campaign. But here's the point: if the Democrats stand for locally and nationally, all about elections, make voting more accessible, same day voting, earlier voting. If you care about that when it comes to elections, when it comes to nominating your own candidate to be president of the United States, they forget all that. It's all about the DNC kind of manipulating and muscling who the nominee is going to be. Yeah. Mm. Yep. Right. It, Hey, before I let you go, because you did this story initially, because I was unaware of this one tenured professor at the University of New Hampshire in Durham, but we had Senator Jeb Bradley on the show last week. Senate President still hasn't. He's not satisfied. He's heard any condemnation from the administration, the trustees, the board of trustees, or the president regarding anti-Semitism. It seems to me that when you call Israel a terrorist state, and some of the other signs that have been happening over at UNH that this is not free speech or open, it's hate speech. So I'm wondering why are the board of trustees so quiet on this? It certainly should condemn anyone who's basically calling Israel a terrorist state or obliterate Israel. You would think that should be condemned at least. Where are the board of trustees on this? Right. Right. Well, again, I've looked at it's public information. The chair, the chair, the vice chair, the board of trustees, of the University of New Hampshire system. It's kind of a political appointment process. Let's face it, but it's a big board. I mean, it's like a who's who of who. I mean, it's a big board. So if you become a trustee of UNH, I guess it's pretty lofty. There are a lot of them. Why are not a few of them speaking up on this as an overseer of the university? If there's hate speech, because my question to anyone, including you, excuse me, or Senate President Bradley or President Dean, if you had a professor or a group at UNH that was openly promoting, for example, white supremacy groups, something outrageous like that, that's not free and open speech. That's hate speech. That's hateful to people. Would you condemn it? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Why are you not condemning anyone who is calling and wants to obliterate the state of Israel, given what the Jewish people have gone through in history and are still going through, and call them a terrorist state when it's the Hamas terrorist and obliterate Israel? Where's the condemnation? That's not free speech or open. That's hate speech. Yeah. 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 Well, if the administration's reluctant or nervous to condemn, there should be board members who are not paid full time employment to come out and speak up. So where are the board? Where are the trustees, the board members at UNH to condemn this anti-Israel hatred, obliterate Israel, basically hate speech? I'm curious. All right, thank you, Michael. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll touch base on Doug Tango with a worldwide market perspective on the economy coming up. Top of the 10 o'clock, a lot more news talk. Good morning, New Hampshire. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Streaming's back working. Thank you, our engineering guy, folks. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Streaming thousands in the morning worldwide. Back in a moment. By the way, I had the comment I heard on the news this morning. The about you're hearing about pretty much around the country veterans being displaced from their nursing homes or senior centers in cities for migrants. You're hearing about migrants taking over parts of San Diego airport and the terminal. You're hearing about cities like Massachusetts and Boston who looked the other way for years as Texas and Arizona tried to protect their borders and deal with this crisis of people just coming into this country. One thing that amazed me on all this is how people just gloss over the fact that these are illegal entries. These people came into the country illegally. And I just notice how the softening in our country on reality and bubble wrap is and some commentary. It's amazing how we go from years ago, illegal aliens, that was the term when we were dealing with this, years ago on the border, especially the southwest border. And then it was illegal immigrants, and then it was illegal migrants. Now the term is just migrants, and all the whole term illegal was taken out of this. Did anyone notice this, or just me? These are people that are coming into the country illegally by droves. Like literally, I had to chuckle the other day. There was just a picture of some, and I don't know if it was I don't know what state it was, but it was in an area. I think it was California. Well, literally just coming in on boats on the beach in front of like these multi-million dollar homes. Just hey, you know what? I'm entitled to whatever. I'm coming into this country illegally. It's just amazing how we gloss over the illegal entry part, isn't it? Some commentary. All right, Doug Tengden, Worldwide Market Perspective, joins us with an economic outlook. And Doug, I just have to tell you again, I saw a lot of people out recreating, a lot of hospitality over the weekend in communities, a lot of Christmas and holiday fairs, tree lightings, plays, shows, restaurants. And I noticed I went out a few times and just have an appetizer in a couple of adult beverages like a cold beer or something in places on a Saturday afternoon, a Friday afternoon, anywhere. And also, by the way, the number of people who aren't working, they're out there, in the middle of the day. I had a friend on Friday. He called in from Loon Mountain in Lincoln, and he said, I figured out where all the workers are. We have one of the lowest unemployments in the country, and it was 9 o'clock Friday morning. I go, where? And he goes, they're here in the parking lot at Loon, ready to go skiing and boarding for the day to do their Zoom calls on the chairlift. And they're all Massachusetts license plates, My point is, though, you can't get out of a restaurant today with a couple drinks and appetizers for two people under $100 with a tip. You can't go grocery shopping for under $150. So I don't know where the money's coming from, whether people are racking up their credit cards. They're certainly not making more money per se. And don't tell me it's COVID money unspent, because that makes me a little nauseous. But take it away, Doug. Yeah, I just don't see it. I personally, and then what's going on. I am also hearing the one concern. I don't know if I know you're in the Upper Valley where you live, Doug Tengden, Worldwide Market Perspective, your firm, but I'm hearing on the coast that any business that's in that home furnishing, home decorating, home remodeling in the last 30 to 40 days, they've seen like business almost come to a screeching halt. Now, you could say it's end of the year, time of year. I'm not saying people with money who are not borrowing, at near 8%, two or 300,000 to buy a home, people with money who are just buying homes, that's continuing, but it's a much smaller subset. I'm just hearing that home support, home furnishing, home decorating, home remodeling is slowing down. Yeah, and it really is. What is it? Just over. It's like 1.6, 1.7. One of the lowest per capita unemployment rates in the country. Unbelievable. All right, Doug. Thank you, Doug. Make it a good Monday. Yeah, I just I heard that I don't know if you know about Governor. Speaking of the migrant crisis and the border crisis. By the way, there's a crisis. I don't know if you knew it. I guess they now know it in Boston and Massachusetts. Governor Haley declares it a state of emergency because all of a sudden Boston can't handle the illegal flow. And, isn't it amazing how these Southern governors were mocked and ridiculed when they were busing and shipping up people who broke into their states to places like Martha's Vineyard or wherever they sent them. I don't know if it was Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, D.C., New York City, Boston, anything in the Northeast. They was, this has been going on for a couple of years. They were just called, every name in the book. They were mocked, they were ridiculed, and all of a sudden the governors and the mayors in New York City and in Boston and these Northeast, let's just say more Democrat states, when they can't handle it, it's a crisis. State of emergency, state of emergency. We can't handle it. I don't know how they did it in Texas and Arizona. I don't care because they're all Neanderthals down there, right? Isn't that what Joe Biden called DeSantis and the Southern governors when they wanted to open up after all the COVID crap early? Were disregarding Fauci and the CDC. They were reopening their states, and the Biden called them Neanderthals. That's a pretty nice term, isn't it? But the hypocrisy again. I'm on a theme here on this Monday. The hypocrisy. These governors and states that were ridiculing and mocking, the governors down in Texas, and I hear this morning that the DOJ or whoever, the federal government, still on Governor Abbott to remove the barriers in the Rio Grande to stop people from coming over illegally onto his shores in Texas. Take the buoys and the razor blades, or the barbed wire out of the river. And we'll see where that one goes. But it's just remarkable. And again, I just love the terminology, how this stuff just morphs over time. You can look it up. Look up, like, a number of years ago when they're talking about the border crisis back in 2016, 2017, 2018, every news report, illegal aliens, illegal immigrants. Well, I guess that offended some people. So then it became illegal migrants. Now it's just like softened down to migrants. Like they have every right to come just break into this country and take what they, do what they want. It's almost daily now in some city or state you're hearing about someone who just came over here and broke into the country. What about this summer? People forgot that one in Rye. Someone was working on a multi-million-dollar house, and the guy had this person had like a 220-year life sentence, and it wasn't Brazil. I'm trying to think, it wasn't Brazil. Might have been Venezuela. This guy had been killed 12 people, serial killer, working on a home in Rye because he just kind of broke into the country through the border, just kind of walked in, working on a home in Rye. You think that family with their kids at home, or they ran out to the store and they got people working on their house, had any idea this guy? They do, because ICE picked them up. They arrested him. Imagine that horror they must have felt. This guy's working on their house. He killed 12 people in his country, but he's working here just because he could come in and walk into the country. Some commentary: illegal migrants, illegal. That's a thing not to overlook. Commentary, 603-228-2080. Or come back. We'll Vec on deck. Aaron Real, NBC News Radio, national correspondent. Good morning, New Hampshire. The Pulse of an Age. Streaming is back. Back in a moment.